This is episode 129 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Welcome to episode 129 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today I have Mike Ferreira on the show. Mike's early on in his investing journey, but he's hit the ground running. He's doing multiple duplex conversions in Hamilton. He talks a little bit about his journey and what he's doing to get deals done. And it's no secret that it's getting harder and harder to do that perfect BRRRR in Hamilton. You pretty much have to find a needle in a haystack or a diamond in the rough in order to get that to happen. It's still possible, but it's getting harder. So what's the easier solution? What's the more reasonable solution? In my mind, it's to adjust investor expectations. If you have a joint venture partner, if you want to keep doing with this model in your home area, it might come down to a conversation about what's reasonable to expect and what's not. And Mike has clearly had that conversation. So he's worked it out so that even though they're doing a refinance, they're pulling out quite a bit of the money that's in, there's still roughly $180,000 in on the deal that he ran as a case study today. It's just a testament to show what's possible. There are investors out there, especially now with cash to invest. And if they're approached correctly, there is a way to get a lot of deals done, even if you can't get that perfect BRRRR. So today's conversation was great for that. And we talked about a couple other things, the direction the market's going in and where Mike's going to be looking next to invest. That was a really enjoyable conversation. It was nice to finally meet Mike, and I hope you enjoy the interview. As always, just before we get into it, if you could please take a moment and rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts if you haven't already done so. And if you're watching on YouTube, just hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell if you haven't done that yet. And go ahead, leave us a comment. Let Mike know what you think. Let me know what you think of the episode, and if you have any comments about the conversation. If you're new to the podcast, of course, it's a great idea to head right back to the beginning and work your way all the way through, because we really dig into the fundamentals at the beginning. And if you haven't already done so, I've got my cash flow sheet available so that you can analyze deals anytime you want if you visit my website at andrew-hines.com. So without further ado, let's get into the episode with Mike Ferreira, number 129. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I have Mike Ferreira on the show, and Mike is going to talk to us about his investing in Hamilton and beyond. I actually don't know your story, Mike, so go ahead and let us know.
All right. Well, first, thanks for having me on your podcast. It's pretty crazy that I'm on the Andrew Hines podcast, but thanks so much. Feel very grateful for it. So I started off probably around 5 years ago, just in single family market in Cambridge, bought another single family in Kitchener, and then made my way over into Hamilton, where mainly do duplex conversions.
Okay. So you said about 5 years ago, it was in Kitchener, Cambridge area?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And was that like BRRRR strategy back then? Like, were you aware of the sort of approach where you're going in, renovating and refinancing?
No, I wasn't well versed in it at that time. It was more of let's just pick up some turnkey single family townhomes, and just rent them out and sit on them for a bit.
Okay, what made you decide to do that?
Just the hands-off approach, having starting off with a family and wanting to get into investing. It was also with partners. So ultimately, we wanted it to be hands off, and we wanted, a solid type of property where, we could offload it if things got bad, or easy to sell. Yeah. Great tenant profile as well.
Okay, but what made you want to start investing in the first place?
I guess shortly after I bought my own home, my first home, started to realize what equity gain is all about, and what better to have more than one property where essentially others are paying for it. It just seemed like a no-brainer.
Yeah, if you think about it this way, I mean, now more than ever, like if you're following Quentin D'Souza at all, he has a theory that real inflation's like over 15%, which I would totally agree with. In fact, I think it's probably closer to 20%. So if the bank's lending you money at 2 to 3, and you're leveraging, that real estate, the ability, like the bank, basically the bank's losing money. They're basically paying you to borrow money. That's right. Because you're ultimately going to pay them back less than you borrowed in real value. So now is a great time in a lot of ways to borrow a lot of money to buy assets, because the assets are going to hold their value or grow in value, and then you only have to pay back a fixed amount. So that's definitely right. Equity gain is absolutely huge. I saw that too and wanted to get in on it. I remember having such bad FOMO, seeing all these Toronto investors with like their properties had doubled, and I was invested in London and nothing had gone up. And I'm just like, damn, why did I pick the cash flow market?
But sure enough, it made its way there too, right?
Oh yeah. Now London just, it was just a matter of time. And now it's not even really a cash flow market anymore. So,
right.
Yeah, all things change in time, I guess. So
that's right.
But now you're in Hamilton and you are doing duplex conversions, right?
Yeah. So we're doing the BRRRR strategy and converting single family bungalows into legal duplexes. And that's working out really well for us.
And who are you doing that with? Is it just your wife and yourself, or?
So we completed one last year. That was our first one. That was myself and my wife. And we're almost wrapping up another one that was with a JV partner. And we just closed on another one at the beginning of June with another JV partner.
Okay. And where do you find these JV partners are coming from for this?
These are my first two when it comes to the duplex conversions, friends and family.
Okay.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, it happens at the dinner table at Thanksgiving and things like that. People hear what you're doing and they want a part of it, right?
Right, and they see what you're doing on social and kind of just ask questions every time they see you or shoot you an email or a text, and it just goes from there. Just natural progression.
Yeah, it's been a similar experience for me. That was really how it started out. And then it gets easier to actually have other people that are less connected to you invest as well after that point.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you mind walking me through what the numbers look like right now for a duplex conversion in Hamilton? Because I was under the impression that it wasn't really working anymore. But if you're making it work, I want to hear about it.
Well, one reason why I think it still works is because the ARVs and the appraisals that are coming in are still pretty good, right?
And they're going up and up and up, right?
Yeah. So the highest I heard of for appraisal was 850. Yeah. And we're purchasing them, between the 650 to 700 mark. And also the rents have kept up as well.
They have,
So that helps out a lot. So yeah, rents you're looking at for a good quality upstairs unit, you're looking at around 2,000, maybe 2,100. And then we actually have rented out the basement before we even finished for 1,850.
This is the current one that you're doing?
Yeah, this is the current one. Yep.
Okay, so gross rent. So say it was $2,050, and then 1,850. That's 3,900. Or do you think you're getting a full 4,000 on that house?
It'll be tough. I think.
Yeah. Okay. So more like a 3,900.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So what did you buy your most recent one for?
So that one was for 575.
Okay. And improvements, how much are you putting into it?
We're looking at about 160. That's carrying and renos as well.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So you're in it for about 735, and then the value at the end of that, you're like 850, you think?
I'd go conservative and just do like an 820, 825 for appraisal.
Okay, so 825. Then your new mortgage is going to be 618, which is more than you bought it for, but no more than your total. Oh wait, no, I got that wrong. Your new mortgage would be 660 at 80%. Right. And so you'll have about $75,000 into that deal.
Yeah.
Are you done? Have you already refinanced it?
No, not yet. No, we haven't.
So
yeah.
You're in the process. Okay. So let's look at your operating expenses. You got taxes. What do you figure you're going to be after the?
So taxes are $290.
Oh, $290 a month. Okay.
Yep. $290 a month. Insurance, we're looking at about $120 a month.
Equals 120 times. So that's equals 120 times 12. That's both. No way. 1,440. What kind of insurance have you got on this place?
No, it's good insurance. It's actually it's a design product for people who are flipping or BRRRRing properties.
Okay, that's pretty good. I mean, I guess it's not as crazy as I thought, because you're talking about 1,000 square foot footprint with a basement unit, right? So it's okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we'll say 5% for maintenance. Management. Are you paying management, or are you just doing it yourself?
No, I do it myself. Yeah. Okay.
And then utilities, are you paying any of it, or is it all the tenants?
All the tenants. Tenants are paying all utilities.
And do you just do like the 60-40 up down split?
No, we split everything. We split water and hydro. And
okay, so they have separate water for each unit?
Yeah, we put in a satellite meter for the basement unit.
Like a sub meter?
Yeah, and then because we tack on the gas bill to the upstairs tenant, and because we're doing that, we put an electric water heater for the basement unit. So they're not sharing the gas to heat up their water.
Oh, okay. And they're okay with that. So the upstairs guys just know that's part of the lease you pay for.
Yeah, no, everyone is good with it. The upstairs tenant, even though they're paying for the gas, my feedback that I've gotten is it's fine because they essentially get to control the heat as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's all right.
We continue to use that strategy, and it's working out so far. I haven't had anybody like tell me I'm crazy or give me any bad feedback about it. So.
Yeah, it's just every tenant's unique. I mean, it's only when one tenant starts using astronomical like water, if you weren't splitting that's where I've found some trouble. But I finally got a sub meter set up, which reminds me I got to follow up on that. But I don't know if you found something similar, but it's basically a Wi-Fi connected auto meter reader, and I can log online and I can see the usage, and I can just compare it to the bills and see how much the guys used in the the time frame.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more of a complicated setup. I just had it installed, so I gotta log in. But up to this point, I've just had the tenant take pictures of the water meters at the end of the cycle and send it to me.
Gotcha.
And that works, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. Like, I don't really want to do that. So
it's one more thing to manage, right?
Yeah, I don't want to manage that in any way, shape, or form. But that house, it just became a problem because we were 60-40, but the guys upstairs were using like 80%, and the guys downstairs or behind were using 20%. So it just wasn't really fair to them. But
no, that's not fair.
The whole property management thing, man, you're just going to come across these things, and you got to find little hacks to get by it, to not have it be a pain in the butt later on.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So are you doing landscaping, snow removal, or anything like that?
No, I kind of just provide everything for the tenants, and they're, pretty happy to do it themselves.
They take care of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So really you just have taxes, insurance, and maintenance then?
Yes.
And then I just throw
mortgage and
mortgage. And then, miscellaneous, like $500 a year for whatever. I just like to throw that in there just in case. But okay. So you're figuring new value. We said 825. So I'll go ahead and calculate your mortgage based on that.
I think it's about 2,500 around there
with a 30-year M. And what are you, 2% even?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. 2%. We'll probably get that.
Okay. Let's see. So 80% loan to value, 2%. You're going to be about 20. I have 2436 as a monthly payment. Okay.
2450.
Yeah. You've got pretty good cash flow on that. You're right. It does kind of work out. So $816 a month. Cash flow. That's pretty good. So then your 5-year pay down, you're getting about $17,000 a year on average. If we do a 2% appreciation, that's $16,500 a year. And then cash flow is about just short of 10 grand. So $43,500 overall return on an investment. We have to adjust your investment because you're only invested for about 75,000. So you got like a 58% return on your money.
It's pretty healthy. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, that's working out. So a couple of questions. Like, first off, who is it that's casually affording these rent payments? Because these aren't the small rent payments that traditional Hamiltonians were able to afford.
No. So these rents are not much lower, but they're significantly lower than my duplex that I rented out last year. But there's also a size difference in the units, right? So the one I did last year was around the 900 square foot range, and this one's around the 1,100 square foot range. So you do get the higher rent amounts, but I'm finding a lot of younger people that are ready to settle down with their partner, that have saved a bit to buy a home, but they're just being priced out of the market at the moment. And I almost want to say that I find maybe people are giving up on home ownership, and I mean it's a sad thing to see, but they're willing to pay. And as long as you have a clean, modern unit, then they're willing to pay for it.
So these are professionals then? So new, like just starting to work kind of professionals?
Mostly, yes. Also find a lot of retirees are inquiring about the upstairs unit now. Younger families with one child or two kids. But I mean, all walks of life, I guess, but mostly younger people, for sure.
Okay. And could you go out tomorrow and find another one of these for 575, or well, no, not 575. You're going to be more like you said, 675 now.
Yeah. So the one that we closed on recently, that was 680. So
okay. So if it was 680 and we applied the exact same methodology, then you're in for $180,000 after you refinance.
Right. Yeah.
So that becomes a tougher pill to swallow for an investor to be in for 180 on that. Then, then you're basically getting all the same and you're only at 24% return.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Right. And we ran those numbers with the JV partner and they felt comfortable with it. So
yeah, I mean, it's still like 24% better than you're getting in a lot of places for a passive investment.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, granted, you guys are splitting that, but at the same time, you're probably going to get better than 2% return or 2% appreciation. It's probably going to be more like 5, say. So then you're up to almost 40% overall return.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah. It's obviously a challenge to get the cash flow. And in this case, you're putting down more. And this is kind of just what people have accepted. We're going to be into these deals for more, but we'll still have a way to get wealthy off of it. And,
right. As rents are continuing to increase, I mean, we can't bank on that. That is a bit of speculation. And also the ARVs are constantly going up as well. So,
realistically, if the trend continues, you're going to be able to pull that money out in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it doesn't work now, you should be able to pull it out later, especially if the rents continue to go up. So that'll be the question. I mean, it's just anybody's guess as to how much rents can continue to go up before people can't afford it, or before what I predict is going to happen. You've got 2 families moving into your basement unit. We'll all share.
I mean, no, I hear you. And we, I do get inquiries about that as well. 2 families wanting to move into a 2-bedroom basement. It just doesn't, or 2 couples, it's just.
Can you imagine that? And that's going to become a normal thing, right? Right now, that's kind of like, oh no, I don't want that in mine, but there's somebody who will take them. And
I'm sure there is. Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Yeah, I think I have 2 families living in my my duplex, but it's like an entire house. It's a 1,000 square foot main and then 1,000 square foot basement. So still though, I mean, that's still a lot of wear and tear on that house that I would prefer not to have.
And this is in London?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't that way originally. But he was having trouble, so he had his brother-in-law or something move in.
Right. And are the numbers similar in London?
Yeah, this place I was actually surprised. I just had an appraisal on it for $850, but this is different because this is a front back. I built a 1,000 square foot addition in the backyard, and it's its own unit. It's a vaulted ceiling. That one does $1,695 a month right now, plus utilities, and then the front one does like just under $2,000 a month. But they're tenants that have been there for a while, so I could probably get more, on the next turnover.
Right.
It's a nice keeper. So I mean, that's kind of my gear as far as London goes right now. I'd rather have family stuff than student stuff going forward, because I just feel like admission student wise is going to shrink a bit. I think, I don't know how much, but I just feel it's far more consistent to have a bit more family right now. So that's kind of where I want to put my position.
Is that mainly because of COVID?
Yeah, I think that the online shift is going to come. And then, of course, if you believe the Gary Vee model that everything can be learned on YouTube, school is becoming a little bit less useful than it was. Of course, people are still going to go to dentistry, medical, like those are never going anywhere, engineering. But I do see possibility for a little bit of a reduction in enrollment. So that kind of prompted me to, especially with the lockdowns and all that, it prompted me to want to make a bit of a change.
Right.
Yeah. I used to think that student rentals were the safest investment ever. And now I feel like, anything could change, and social trend towards education could change too.
Yeah. But that's, that's part of what we do, right? We pivot
pivot
and we move around and do different strategies and try different things out.
Yeah, it's not to say it's bad. Like I'm still hanging on to some, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm okay to not, like, I don't really want to be in students for just 1 or 2. I'd rather just, focus on something else, right, and then do it that way. So So what's next for you? Are you going to continue to look in Hamilton? Are you satisfied with these numbers and just continue rocking on with it?
I mean, if the appraisals keep coming in, I wouldn't mind. I'm also starting to look at more income generating properties, maybe some more multiplex. But that's really just the beginning of that. Maybe do some private lending as well. Try to diversify a little bit.
Okay.
But that's pretty much it. But still within the realm of real estate. For sure.
Yeah, but you're not going to go outside of Hamilton. You're not going to go like Niagara, Brantford.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to do quite a bit of research for a new area to take on, and which I'm fine with. I haven't really dug into it at all, but just strictly.
There's no need to, though, if you like what you're doing. I think like the big thing for most people, they're going to look at that and say, well, I can't leave 180 in that deal. Like how much progress can I make? But I think if you're confident in your ability to just keep doing this and keep finding new partners that have more, more capacity on their line of credits or wherever they're getting the money, then keep going with it. Is that where they're finding it, or are these people that just had money saved up that they wanted to invest?
No, it's equity. It's just equity built up over the years and
in their property. Okay.
Yeah, and they know that real estate's pretty safe and sound, overall investment. So, and they just don't, they're like they're typical young families that just really busy, have kids and don't have the knowledge or the time to get started in real estate. So, and I help them out with that. So it's working very well.
Okay. So do you have a goal of how many units you're going to try and get to?
No, not really.
So you're just going to keep growing casually and just see where it goes?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have like a number of like passive cash flow that you would want before you quit your job? By the way, I don't know what you do for a living.
Well, by trade, I'm a truck driver.
Okay.
But I don't know, the amount of 10 grand a month has always stuck with me. Obviously it'd be great to get more, but that sounds really good. I'd love to maybe retire my wife at some point. That would be a goal as well.
And what's your wife do?
She's in HR.
Okay. And you guys are both working in Hamilton, I'm guessing, living in Hamilton.
No, I don't live in Hamilton. I live in Cambridge.
Okay.
And currently my job just moved to Bolton. So that's quite a trek.
Yeah.
And it's actually a kind of a push to get me doing more things to eventually, I don't want to stay there forever. It's just, it's not worth it for me to drive all that way, but yeah, so we'll see what happens.
Well, what do you mean? What are you going to do?
I've been looking into maybe becoming a real estate appraiser as well.
Okay.
I mean, I have a high school diploma, so I'm kind of limited to certain careers, but I'm open to anything right now at this moment. I'm just kind of brainstorming and see what I can do, and so that I can reach my goals, I guess.
I wouldn't say you're limited. I mean, I got a university degree from a business school, which I should have been probably using to, according to the system, should have been using to like get a consulting job or work as an accountant or something like that. And everything I've done really, other than the teaching, was all just entrepreneurial, right? I think. Right. Yeah, the world's your oyster as far as that goes, right? Like you just not necessarily as a job, but there's lots you can still do. Right.
And just the idea of kind of doing your own thing is really stuck with me, and something that I really want to work towards. Having that freedom is it's great.
Yeah. Like for me, I don't think anyone could pay me enough to work a normal job. Like, I just don't think I could do it.
Right. No, I hear you.
I don't even want to let anyone buy my time, even for coaching. Like, as much as I do like talking to investors, I'd rather it just be like, let's just have a chat, which is always the way I've thought about this podcast. Like, let's just two investors, let's just have a chat about real estate. Like if we had just finished a round of golf, I'd probably ask you these same questions, which is exactly why it works. Right. And that's actually the comment I've had from people. It's just like, oh, it's just like two investors having a conversation.
Right.
Exactly.
No, it's great. It's fantastic. Yeah. And thanks for putting out all this content. It's helped me a lot, and I'm sure it's helped others as well. And look forward to more.
Yeah, man. Well, what was it like when you hear all the stuff like that we've covered on this show, like what kind of strategies, obviously the BRRRR one with the duplex conversions, that's kind of like the most obvious one, I think, in Ontario right now. Were there other things that you like heard of or thought of that kind of tweaked your interest and you would want to pursue?
From your show alone?
Mine or others, like what kind of strategies are appealing to you?
Someone I followed from the get-go was Matt Pichet.
Okay.
I really liked his like hands-off approach to real estate investing. That always stuck with me, and that's, you know, going back to my single family and properties that I invest in.
The boring approach, as he calls it.
Exactly. Yeah. So that stuck with me, but obviously that was short-lived due to prices, you know, purchasing prices.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the BRRRR strategy for sure. And now, you know, the adding value to properties, you know, whether it's garden suites or, you know, I've been following Andy Tran a little bit with his severing lots and creating, you know, duplexes on those as well. So that's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, severing lots is a big one. If you can find something with the extra land, I think that's like, if you can find a deal that works and just happens to have that extra land, it's worth just slowly trying to work on that approval so that you can sever it and later on hopefully sell it. Or
right, have a house that you can rent out during the process of.
Yeah, exactly. That's the key thing. I don't want to speculate on development if I don't know that at least I'm covering my expenses. You know, maybe I'm investing a bit on the gamble of the development play.
Right.
Who are you using for your renovations in Hamilton?
So currently, for the last two projects, I've used Ken Beekendam.
Oh, okay.
For my drawings and my renovations.
So he just does the whole thing?
Yeah, he just kind of one-stop shop and handles all the day-to-day of it.
Dude, that sounds awesome.
Like I'm in and out of there checking up as well. Just because I have that responsibility to my JV partners as well. So
yeah, obviously you want to make sure things are going well, but it's nice that he handles the whole thing start to finish. You can't always find that, people who do design and build as far as those rentals, and he's pretty specialized as well.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Okay, are you doing
my first duplex? I did do a little bit of hands-on work myself on the upstairs unit.
Yeah.
I'm pretty handy myself, but it takes up too much of my time. I can't be bothered, and I kind of get frustrated near the end. It gets to be too much, so, and not enjoyable, right?
Yeah, if the pressure's on, it's not fun. I would agree with that. With your 160, how far does that money go? Like, what does that money cover?
So that one we actually went a little bit over. We had I call it the basement from hell. So we're over 23,000, I think, on our original renovation cost.
Like you exceeded estimations?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
By 23,000.
Yeah, that was the cost of, repairing the basement to where it should be so that we can start.
Well, what was wrong with it?
Well, first we had water penetration through the block, the basement foundation wall.
Okay, so you had to do the interior weeping system?
We did do an interior weeper, and we had some heaving of the floor of the slab of the basement slab, so the floor. You couldn't really hide it, so we decided to break up all the concrete and re-pour a new slab.
The whole basement?
The whole basement, and we also removed. It's called slag. And it's a product of metal. It's a byproduct of metal production, and in Hamilton they use it as backfill. So from what I've been told, is it retains moisture a lot more than your typical gravel that would be underneath your slab, and it causes hydrostatic pressure, and it has a tendency to lift the slab, and the slab will separate itself, and you'll have two different levels. So once we had that slab out, then we could remove that slag and not pour a new slab on top. And then in the meantime, we're doing new drains as well, since we're that far, right?
New drain. Oh, like new floor drain and stuff like that.
Yeah. So upgrading.
But you would have done that too anyway, right? Or were you just planning on having the bathroom exactly where it was?
No, so typically we would just change in whatever areas we would need to change, and we would tie into the existing clay, right? Because we would just break up
only where you needed,
where you need it. But since we had the whole floor up anyways, it only made sense to put new plastic piping or drains, right?
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, the clay ones, obviously, they'll leak over time, and not that where's the water really going to go? I mean, I've never been too worried about that, but yeah, of course, if you broke it all up, you might as well just replace it all.
Yeah. And what happens with those clay drains is they separate at the joints because they're not glued or anything. They're just kind of just placed together. Right.
It's kind of a gross thought.
It is, isn't it?
You guys find some gross stuff when you broke everything up?
Well, I wasn't there, so I'm sure plumbers have to deal with a lot of stuff,
There's a business I just can't understand. I mean, the new construction part, no problem. But I mean, the people who get into fixing, doing house calls and stuff, I can't understand it.
Yeah, especially if you go into like, the older part of town, like downtown Hamilton or downtown Toronto. I'm sure that's not fun at all.
No, definitely not. Okay. So yeah, 160, you shouldn't have been that much. So you figure you would have been closer to like 130 otherwise, or 140.
Yeah. Around there. Yeah.
Okay. And that's the number I've heard about. Did that cover upstairs a little bit too? Like some cleanup on the upstairs?
Very well. We added an in-laws in-suite laundry. And we added some pot lights and the new, a new panel upstairs as well. Right.
Any kitchen work or anything like that?
No, this kitchen was in really good shape. So we decided not to do anything to it.
Didn't need to do anything to that.
No.
Okay. So what if the upstairs is rough? Like, how's your game plan change if you go in and you see like this upstairs is from 1960, like good footprint, it's a 1,100 square foot or a 1,200 square foot bungalow, and you think, hey, side door access, it's all good, I think this is a good duplex. First off, what are you paying for that, and how much money are you going to have to invest in it?
Yeah. So right now it's kind of tough to judge rental costs just because of the cost of materials changing all the time, especially with lumber. They have increased significantly. There's no doubt about that. But I try to stay away from properties that need a lot of work upstairs. Unless it's for the right price, it's totally doable. Yeah, I would be open to it.
Okay. But you're not looking. So you wouldn't even entertain a 1960s upstairs right now. You're looking for something that has a nicer upstairs.
Well, my first duplex, it was maybe updated 30 years ago, but yeah, like I said, but that's when I went with, put my hands on it, and I started doing a lot of work upstairs myself to kind of save on that. But no, like I said, if we come across something that does need work upstairs and it's for the right price, then yeah, I'd totally be open for it.
The key is being able to act quickly, right? I mean, how quickly can, say, someone like Ken get you an estimate, or are you getting to the point where you can just say, well, that upstairs is just going to cost me an extra 20 grand?
Yeah, I mean, if it was last year, I could say a number, but this year, like with the costs of materials, it's tough for me to judge, right? Also, there's a little bit more delays in terms of permits getting approved.
How long is that taking?
So right now, it used to be 10 business days with the city of Hamilton. Now it's about 15 to 20 days. So we're looking at an extra week or two just for approvals.
Even if they have something in the permit package that they don't like, it's still going to be all done. They'll just ask you and then they still approve it.
No, if there's something they don't like, they won't approve it. And then you have to resubmit and wait again. Right.
Oh, resubmit. Okay. So like say in London,
I believe so.
In London, I can just send in you needed to show this on this document. Okay, here's the replacement. Like that's
right.
That's the
so
kind of thing.
We ran into that issue with the recent project over parking, and it took a little while to get the approval back, right?
Gotcha.
With the changes. So yeah, it's definitely not as quick as it was a year ago or a year and a half ago by any means.
I was just talking to a guy who told me it was 5 months in London to get a permit.
Wow.
And he was calling in all the time. Like, hey,
they must have loved him.
Yeah. I had to coach him on that. I'm like, if you don't call in, I mean, they'll tell you that it's going to take longer, but squeaky wheel always gets the oil. Just got to be polite.
Yeah, and persistent.
Polite and persistent, like the most polite and pleasant ever, but then never relenting. And that usually will do the trick sooner or later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I see tons of hurdles right now. A lot of uncertainty in the market in terms of supply, because we've got all this extra currency floating around. A lot of people were doing quite well during the lockdown, doing home renovations, but it's more than that. There's a lot of money in this system, and it's chasing very few goods or compromised goods, because I mean, a lot of plants shut down a little bit. But I get these emails all the time. Oh, this year is unprecedented. You're going to have to check with your sales rep what's available and how quickly they can get it. It's just one thing after another. So I've had to make decisions. Okay, well, we're not going to use that thing, or we're not going to use that specific model. We'll get this one. But one thing I would say is if people, like, if you're starting your project, buy your appliances at the beginning, because you probably won't get them until the end.
Yeah, no, I went ahead already. We're probably a month away. I secured my appliances already for sure, because it's everything. Like it's not just your lumber and your drywall. It's everything, right? And
it legitimately is being driven by demand in dollars. And since so many more dollars exist, it's just going to drive up the price. Like if you're the appliance salesperson or the appliance company and you're constantly sold out of product, why break your back running around? Why not just raise your prices until now people are just buying up the product you have?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just logical, right?
Right. And that goes back to, the whole, like you just mentioned, the whole printing money and, inflation. It's here. It's
here. Yeah. Like I said, I really
be here for a while.
I really do think we're legitimately at 20% plus a year. I think that we're there. I mean, I know Quentin says 15. Sure. Well, we won't.
You won't argue that regardless.
We won't split hairs. But I mean, this is what it means for investors. If you're sitting on cash, you're losing 15% a year on your investment, your non-investment on your asset. If you can call cash that, or you put it into something and you got to be making. If you're doing private mortgages, either you don't believe in that number, or you got to be making more than 15, 16%. Just to stay even. But actually, realistically, more like 20 to 25, because you're going to pay taxes on your profit. So
right, yeah, it's great. Yeah. It's crazy to think of it that way. Like once you start breaking it down, it's just wow. Like how are we going to get ahead, right?
Well, yeah. So there's where getting it into real estate, long-term assets that you're not going to sell, so that you don't have the quote unquote tax event of a sale. And that way you can watch your asset climb in value, leverage against it, buy more and more and more, and all without getting cut off at the knees by taxes. Right. So I think that's the big thing to avoid. But of course, we all need to carry some cash, right? We all need to have that, and it's just part of the game right now. I wish I had the answer. I wish I had a perfect answer for that.
Well, things
hasn't come to me yet.
Like all these changes happen so quick, right?
Yeah. But it wasn't anything that we couldn't have predicted, though, right? I mean, anyone who was following my podcast knows, like, I called that out like week 2 of the lockdown. I'm like, we're gonna have massive inflation because of this.
You did. Yeah. No, I didn't believe you at first. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But yes, after following what's going on in the market, it's plain sight. Like if you don't see it, it's I don't know.
Sometimes I don't like being right.
I mean, in that case,
not about this. It's a validation. Like my senses, to trust my senses, and my senses are usually right. Right. Not that's not an arrogant statement. I just trust my gut and what I know and what I've learned. There's plenty I don't know, which I'm always curious about.
Of course.
So, anyways, I don't have a specific idea as to what's great, but right now I'm looking. I think land is a great idea. Owning land, at resource producing land that can be farmed. And then potentially severed. So you've got, a multi-pronged strategy there. Even if I could find land on outskirts of smaller towns where I can rent the house out, like we talked about, look to develop it, sever it, farm it in the meantime. Just creative ways to add value. I don't know, like, have you found any creative ways in Hamilton where you can add value and get more out of them, like a garage or
my duplex I did last year, I'm toying with the idea of doing a garden suite. That we have a fairly large backyard there.
Zoning will allow it.
Well, I'm not 100% sure where Hamilton is right now with the garden suites, but I'm toying with the idea that let's see if this is possible here, and then maybe be prepared to to do it once it's all allowed and, you know, all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So
I heard it was close, if not already approved. But I mean, if it's anything like what London is it's just so hard to actually satisfy their conditions. Like they just make it so unreasonable to satisfy their conditions, so you'll never actually be able to build one. So yes, you can, as long as you satisfy this criteria, which you can't.
Right. I think there's similar issues in Kitchener right now as well. They allowed it, but
no one can meet the criteria.
Yeah, like I think it, like the units have to be a certain size, and everyone's just like, well, that's just too small, or you know. So
right. Yeah, exactly. Just not reasonable.
Which isn't cool. Yeah.
No, that's what these cities do. It's a passive aggressive way of not really conceding. Like they meet their obligation that they have to approve it or allow it, but they don't. You know, that's kind of where they stop.
They don't make it easy. They don't make it easy.
They don't. Yeah. So. Yeah, we'll have to see where things end up.
I've also toyed with the idea of like a coin-op car wash as well. Owning the land, of course, something as a for income as well.
And those are great cash businesses. Not going to say anything more than that.
Yeah, and it would be, you know, fairly hands off for as a business as well. So I like.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. I mean, I think. For me, like my brother-in-law just bought a property and he's got this like little shed in the backyard that used to be used for raising like seedlings into plants, like early for your planting your garden.
Right.
And I'm like, man, this looks like it would be a perfect Airbnb suite. You could just like rent this little house out for $100 a night in the summer. I mean, think about it, that the shed's just there and you just make it look nice for maybe $1,000. And then all summer long rent it out for like $100 a night or something like that.
Wow.
I mean, and the bathroom part, you'd have to figure that out, or you pay to put
outhouse.
One in. Yeah, you could put in a nice little outhouse experience. Somebody would still be okay with that. I swear.
I'm sure they will be. Yeah, for sure.
Even if you rent it at a discount, everyone needs a place to stay, right?
No, for sure.
So just like creative stuff like that.
And the demand for like short-term rentals now, or you know, so that would be that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Another thing he did, and I should get him on the show to talk about this. He bought an Airstream trailer and he's just going to park it on a piece of land and rented it on Airbnb, like a 20 grand trailer. Hey, there's so much money to be made.
Well, I know I saw an ad on, I think it was Instagram or Facebook. I'm not sure now, but you know, you can rent out just land for people to pitch a tent and camp out. So if you have a good piece of property and somebody wants to camp out.
Legit in Hawaii before all this lockdown stuff happened, they my wife and I were looking at going back. We'd been there once, and I was just looking at what's available on Airbnb in Maui. $200 for a tent next to an outhouse.
At least you get an outhouse.
Yeah. So they supply the tent too. Yeah. So you just have to bring your air mattress.
200 US too, right?
Yes. Like what the heck, man? So,
I saw an ad on Facebook. Somebody in Cambridge was renting out their pool for $60 an hour.
That's brilliant, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously liability that comes with that, and you have to make sure you're insured properly. That's a little trickier, but I mean, it's all fair game. Like Airbnb has experiences, and I think we're all going to have to get really creative and just start thinking of how can I versus where or what next. I think it's more of like, well, what can we do that's going to make this profitable versus not, right? Because then you don't need to go to a different city. You can stay right in Hamilton as an investor and and work from there. So
it's also a little tougher when you don't have extra land, right? Like when you have land, like you mentioned, the land play in real estate is nice as well, right? You have options.
Yeah, houses in the city, not just out of the city, like houses in the city with like an acre or even a double wide lot or anything like that. Even if your house is right in the middle, down the road, who knows? It probably could be profitable to knock your house down and just sever right down the middle. And
for sure.
You just never know down the road what stuff might be worth. So anyways, Mike, really cool chatting with you and finally meeting. Well. I know we've messaged on Instagram a ton over probably the last year or something. And it's great to make that connection. So if people wanted to find you and follow you, where do we send them?
Instagram would be the best. Mike Ferreira 82. That's MikeFerreira 82. Or you can find me on YouTube under Invested with Mike, one word. But yeah, that's Instagram would be, if you wanted to message me, if anybody has any questions, that would be the best place to reach me, would be Instagram.
Perfect. And any words of wisdom before we sign off here?
Oh, wow. There's so much, man. Listen to the Andrew Hines podcast. How about that?
Yeah. From the beginning. Start at the beginning.
Yeah, from the beginning. Yeah. And you know what? Being a truck driver, that's all I do is listen to podcasts. And, you know, I have a long drive into work as well. So that helps a lot. But it's been a great source of knowledge. So for anyone that's thinking of, you know, learning more, podcasts, definitely. Network with people, ask questions, don't be afraid to take risks, obviously calculated risks, do your homework, reach out, you know, if you're not sure, reach out to anybody that's been doing it. The real estate community, or real estate investor community, I should say, has been absolutely fantastic. It's just too bad we don't have the meetups that we had, you know, prior to COVID. And I would say once those get rolling again, attend as many as you can, as often as you can, and network with people that way. It's fantastic.
Getting face-to-face is huge. Yeah. Definitely, like, now more than ever, there's not really an excuse to not get started. I mean, the more elaborate strategies, the more sophisticated strategies, those are going to take time, but there's a lot of people that are kind of, they've got a couple of feet in the water, and they can share. So many people in this industry are happy to share. So great.
Yeah, it's ultimately it's free knowledge, and you know, like within one text message or you know, if one phone call, you can have your answer.
Yeah.
You know, use that
Absolutely.
that to your advantage. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, well, Mike, thanks a lot for doing this. Really nice chatting with you, and we'll stay in touch. Keep me posted on your next moves and where you're seeing good opportunities.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity, Andrew. Really appreciate it.
Anytime. All right, have a good one.
Take care. You as well.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Please make sure to share this episode far and wide. Help it help more people. I really appreciate you tuning in. I'll see you on the next one.